few months leading to the release. Just maybe each of us have one thing. Shade.
Fix the score screens.
You okay? All right.
Ooh, there you go.
Yeah. Seagull?
Well, I kind of have two things.
Okay, yeah, go for it. Two things is cool.
One, ranked matchmaking. I want to see ranked play. I think that's the most important thing for the game.
Yeah.
And the second one, I want to see the just overall netcode in the game be more precise. Currently, I think it's a little bit too forgiving, and it makes it hard to dodge things like fair rockets, Roadhog hooks, and so on.
Okay.
Wow, I hadn't thought about like the one thing. Yeah, I got to agree with Seagull that a ranking system, a ranked matchmaking system, is going to keep people playing for a lot longer and get people. It's going to ease people into the competitive aspects of the game, whereas right now it's not really apparent when you're playing. I have one that actually not a lot of people have talked about, but I think is incredibly important to really any competitive FPS or other games as well. Is a replay system.
Yes.
It's one of the best ways to learn is to watch replays if you're trying to learn to be a competitive player. But the second part might sound a little silly, but it's also so necessary for making highlight videos and awesome clips, which sounds it's not core to the game and the gameplay itself, but awesome frag videos are a staple of the FPS community. It brings people in from other communities. It makes every single tournament more exciting because every clip could turn into an epic highlight video. Right now, that's not really possible. So I'd love to see a replay system. I wouldn't by any means say it's essential to the game's success, but would love to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you nailed it right there with that one. As for me, those are all great ones. I'd just say, I don't know. I wish the stats were a little bit better in terms of both career stats as well as end game stats. Career stats being like the averages seem to be off for me. Like I don't know I think we were talking about a little bit Shade like last night, but they don't seem to be reflective of just I guess my general performance. So I wish they were a little bit better from that standpoint. And at the end screen too. I know they want to protect people's, just how they feel about just the games and not feeling bad, when they finish a game. But I still would like the option, whether it's a tab or something that you have to choose to show just more of the stats, just generally that happened in the game, so we can get more of just a more sense of what did happen in the game from everybody.
I think assists right now are pretty broken in the fact that I think we mentioned it last night when we were talking briefly, even I think Heroes of the Storm went a little bit overboard with it, where it was like if you were just in the general vicinity, then you got an assist or credit for kill or anything like that. Like in League of Legends, if you are a part of a kill within 5 seconds, whether you're hitting the enemy or you're healing or buffing your team in some way, there's a certain time period there where you still get credit towards that kill or whatever happened. And I think that's really missing in the game right now. And it's showing a lot for people that play support and tank, especially.
Right. Okay, let's move on to the competitive scene. And lots of team changes since the beta. One being Team Hubris, or what we've known as Team Hubris, was picked up by Team Envious. So, definitely good news for them, I think, just given that Team Envious is a very big team, big name team, especially in other esports. And then Seagull, your team, not Enigma, I think disbanded, and you've created a new team, or you guys assembled a new team, the Mix-Up team, which is actually not a new team. It's a bunch of guys that was from the Mix-Up team from TF2, I believe. So why don't you talk about your new team, Seagull?
Sure. It's currently on the old non-Enigma roster, which, by the way, is a ridiculous name. We had myself, Enigma, and Harblue. And Harblue was he subbed in for the last tournament that we played in last phase. All three of us played together for years, or probably last 2 years in Team Fortress 2 on Mix-Up. And so we decided, hey, all three of us have really good chemistry together. The other three people were all good friends with them, but none of us had any in-game chemistry at all. It was a pain. Everyone had to be microed because none of us could naturally work together at all. So we disbanded. Like we broke apart the 2 teams, so now basically it's myself, Enigma, and Harblue. Some of our old mix-up friends, or we call mix-up friends because they're from the team in past rosters, because mix-up was a team that lasted for like, I don't know, 3 years in Team Fortress. So from past rosters, we're like, hey, do you guys want to come join? Because they're all playing Overwatch. And they decided, hey, I'm finally going to play this game competitively. You guys want to make a roster? I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll try it out, see if it works out in this new game. And so far, I'm really surprised that they're playing so well. I mean, they just started playing competitively this week, and we played really well in a tournament, actually. I was really surprised. Mm-hmm. We did lose to Tivik's team, which is Eccentric Gaming. I don't know if you guys were watching. They pulled out this really, really cool Symmetra Torbjorn defense strat, and they did it versus us, and they beat us. And they also did it versus Melty. And so they did all this. Yeah. I know. They got some ideas, man. It's awesome seeing, like, you know, after a new patch, everything is so wild and crazy. I guess it's like this in every game that comes out with, you know, regular patches, you know. But it's really fun to, like, come into Overwatch, and I'm sitting there playing a game, and suddenly it's like, oh man, these guys come up with this crazy new team comp, and we just get absolutely crushed. It's always fantastic. I sit there and I just theory craft about it for hours, and I have a lot of fun with this stuff.
I kind of liked the blurb that I put in our script here. New team, old legends.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
This is you know, this is really cool to see as far as I'm concerned. You know, I don't come from the competitive TF2 background. Although I did follow the scene loosely over the years. And Classic Mixup was a name you've been hearing if you're a fan of TF2 for years and years and years. And we did post a link to the wiki, the Comp TF2 wiki. And I'm just going to read off some of the achievements of this team. 3rd place, ESEA Season 17. 3rd place, Insomnia 52. 2nd place, ESEA Season 16, 1st place, 2nd place, 2nd place, 1st place, 1st place, 2nd place, 1st place, 2nd place. And if you do look at your current roster, it's almost entirely folks that have played for previous iterations of Classic Mix-Up. So I think it's great to have a storied name in the competitive Overwatch scene. And obviously, we're very familiar with these names. Almost everyone that's playing for you currently has been part of one of these teams. So I think it's really cool. I'm excited to see you guys joining the scene.
Yeah, it's almost like kind of crazy because, you know, I haven't played with some of these guys in years, but they just end up playing Overwatch. They're interested in playing. And it's just like, hey, you guys want to make a team? And they're like, sure. Like, what should our team name be? It's like, well, we used to all be on Mix-Up. I guess we'll name it Mix-Up. It's like, all right, I guess that's the new name.
I love it. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely great, man. It's definitely not Enigma, which is probably better.
We were talking about that last night.
Better than that. Yeah.
Like
I hated
terrible names.
Like, God.
The poor casters that have to sit there and pronounce them for like hours on end. I feel so bad.
Yeah. Okay, well, you know, the tournament you guys played in, it's kind of funny. It's like an NA weekly that's won by an EU team. That seems to be a theme, like EU tournaments being won by NAs too. So it's kind of funny that it happened last night again. But let's talk a little bit about NA and EU. Just kind of, is there a rivalry there, you know, going on? I mean, do you see it that way at all, Seagull?
I think there's a rivalry between NA and EU in just about every game that we end up.
Oh yeah,
of course.
Oh yeah,
big time, right? Yeah. So I mean, obviously there is some in that regard. Currently, there is, because, you know, North American teams entered one of the EU weeklies. We won one of those. Now they've entered one of ours, and they've won one of ours. But then I just look at, I'm like, well, Envious wasn't playing. They're the best team in the world. So I'm sitting there going like, well, come on now, where you guys start getting our tournaments here to let the Euros win, guys? Like, what are you guys doing? But soon.
That's true. I'm surprised. Yeah, I wonder why didn't they play in those? Any of you guys know? But maybe behind the scenes? I didn't actually get a chance to talk to any of them.
I think their plan was to just hold out until the first week and, you know, see what other teams were doing and practice themselves, and then hopefully come in strong next week.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, first of all, I was surprised to see you playing, Seagull, because I pinged both you and the Envious guys before the beta even came back, like, hey, do you guys want to play in things? Like, are you interested? And both teams said, yeah, we're probably going to take it easy the first week and not really enter. So yeah, they just want to take some time to strategize, learn the new meta before they jump in. But yeah, man, you know, in the previous phase of the beta, NA was dominant. Like,
oh yeah,
I'm always going to hype these things up a little bit. I've said it many times during casts that we've done previously, but I've been playing FPS games my entire life. Europe has always destroyed NA, other than TF2. TF2 is the one community where NA always seemed to have an edge over Europe. But basically everything else I've ever played, Europe has been dominant. So the fact that NA was looking very, very strong in the first phase of the beta just got my blood pumping. It got me really excited. And I don't know, I actually did the side stream for the Gosu Gamers tournament yesterday, the NA tournament that we're talking about. And I don't know if you go back and watch the VOD, I was so deflated and defeated once you guys got beat. Seagull, I was just like, oh, whatever.
What kind of caster is that, man? You're supposed to be, still be excited and not
I'm not
partial.
biased. I just get excited about things. All right. Right. But I do got to give it up to Eccentric, man. They played out of their minds. They looked really, really strong against you guys. Classic mix-up, and then they completely smashed Melty in the final, which was a huge, huge, huge upset. Not something I would have ever expected to see. But yeah, hats off to Eccentric for winning the NA Cup yesterday.
Well, this is going to be a weekly tournament, right? So we'll get a chance to see everybody come back.
Plenty of time.
New stuff. And it's cool to see Seagull being so pumped up and not salty about, I guess losing. Because some teams will get salty about losing and not want to talk about it. But it seems like you're energized, trying to see some new, just trying to figure out the new meta and seeing other people innovate and things like that.
I mean, our team, we weren't even intending on entering the first tournament, but we were performing half decent in scrims. We're just like, we might as well go for it. It's like, well, why not, right? I mean, I wasn't really expecting much out of this team for at least I was expecting, maybe in a few weeks we'll be starting to get decent because they have just started playing competitive Overwatch this week, and I was really surprised they're performing so well. I'm really happy with the team so far.
And I think when you lose to something that you've never seen before, too, it's like makes you really excited to learn more about it and even try it for yourself. So that probably helps a little bit too. Yeah,
totally. Do you guys hear behind the scenes? Have you guys been hearing a lot of like new teams being assembled? Because that was one issue, right? Obviously, before beta, there weren't enough teams. I felt like there were too many events, given like how many teams were actually being, just organized teams were even available to play. So Fishstix, you said yep. So what have you been hearing?
Well, yeah. Well, it's kind of an interesting. I guess there's a really stark difference between NA and EU. EU has really come out of the gate with established teams. I would say they have 4 teams right now that any given Sunday they can beat each other. You've got Reunited GG, which is a brand new team formed by the Fnatic guys that were doing very well in the first phase of the beta. Of course, you've got Melty, who came out the gate earliest as the strongest team out of Europe, and recently has been faltering just a tiny bit. You've got Hulktastic, aka IDDQD, also absolutely horrible name, who ended up winning the European Cup on Saturday. I think this is the first major tournament that they've won, and they beat Reunited in that finals 3-2. And now you've got Eccentric, who just completely mollywopped Melty yesterday. So you've basically got 4 European teams that are roughly equivalent in skill, which is pretty stark difference to NA, where you've kind of got Envious at the top, and you had Not Enigma and Envious at the top, and now you've just got Classic Mix-Up and Envious. We're yet to see if Classic Mix-Up how they stack up against Envious, and then you've got a bunch of teams that have a lot of promise and have a lot of talent, but haven't actually had any results yet. So right now, like in the first phase of the beta, Envious and Not Enigma were like the 2 top teams. I think it was fairly safe to say. But now all of a sudden you've got 4 European teams and only that have proven track records, and really only Envious. And then even below those 4 European teams, you have a couple of others with some top Quake players. You got some team, like you got a Finnish team that's looking pretty strong. So I'd say like outside of Envious right now, Europe is looking pretty scary. Like they have a lot of talented teams that have established themselves and have played together for a little while as well. And in NA, it's like, there's whispers of teams forming. I've been hearing about them, but they haven't established yet.
So assembling a team, I kind of feel like the barrier to entry has a lot to do with just the process of assembling a team. It can happen organically, and it kind of sounds like that's what was happening with you guys with Seagull, with Mix-Up and things. Just kind of, you guys have played together too, so you don't even have experience with each other. But when you have just a bunch of, let's just say, pub stompers right out there that are just, really, really good, and trying to assemble them for some of the weekend tournaments, they can get together. That's no big deal, right? Just, let's just enter a tournament together. Cool. But actually having an official team, it seems to be something that needs to be started by an organization, like have somebody that assembles the team by picking, individuals and putting them together versus them organically coming together. Shayed, like, do you see that as being a huge challenge right now? And like, what do you think will be the evolution of organized teams or them assembling?
I mean, I think the biggest problem right now is just the lack of players that are in the beta to begin with. I mean, you can't really expect these huge top tier teams to start forming together until there's more of a group of people to like actually pick your players from. So I think the step that'll really, push competitive Overwatch over the edge is just Blizzard inviting more people to the beta, which I think is what everybody wants to hear. But there's more.
You just made Reddit so happy.
There's more to it than just like, oh, we want to be in the beta to play the game, like because we love watching it and like we think we'll like playing it too. It's like there's an entire competitive side to it as well, where it's some people really wanted to get into the beta because it's what they want to play professionally or competitively.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Seagull, any thoughts on that too? I mean, anything to add to that maybe?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think right now, across the NA teams at least, it feels like we have a lot of players who only really like to play one hero each. Like I go in solo queue, obviously I stream every day, right? There's tons of players in NA who only play one hero and they just solo queue. They're like level 45 to 50 plus. I'm sitting here like, man, you guys should all just be going play like competitive right now. Like, please, like come join me. I think once we get more beta invites, like Shayed was saying, it'll be a lot different. Especially, once we get post beta, like the level of play is going to increase so much. It's going to be so fun. I can't wait till. That's how it is in every game, right? We have like the beta stars. Everyone is really good in beta, and then like the real game comes out, and all the real players show up, and it's like the natural talent within the game starts growing. That's when it's going to get so cool to me because it's going to be a popular game. Like it's a Blizzard game. People want to play it. And I cannot wait to see the massive player base. I want to see like a huge competitive scene. I want to see, just how many players are there out there, how many teams are going to show up. It's going to be fantastic.
I think kind of one of the exciting things, in my opinion, that I'm loving about Overwatch right now is that a single savant, like a single incredible 1% of the 1% player can really carry a team at times, which we have seen in a number of the tournaments, like an incredible, outstanding Genji play, Pharah play, McCree, like these DPS characters, not to take anything away from the other classes as well, but the way Overwatch works right now, it kind of allows incredibly talented players to put a team on their back. So I think that means that folks that do come from just being pub stars, but have the skill are going to be able to join teams and really have a huge, huge, huge impact. So I think that's really exciting and fun to watch.
One of the things that concerns me about what was just said, and as I've thought about it, like obviously a lot, is it is an FPS game, so the DPS players are going to shine probably more than anyone else because they're going to be the ones that get the glory and the kills, and they are the carries of the team. So what happens when ranked mode comes into play and people are looking for like the best in their class, but there's roles like tank and support that don't necessarily get the glory over the DPS characters. So what happens in that situation, and what can Blizzard do with the game to make sure that doesn't happen, where it's just the game is completely dominated by DPS characters?
I'd like to add one thing to my wish list, actually. If we get it to that thing, I wish they would rank the whether it's categories or even just like the individual characters, just rank the players, like who's the best support player, and of course that has a lot to do with stats or scoring system or whatnot, but it'd be cool to have a leaderboard for all those things so that, it would motivate people to play those roles more. I'm a little bit closer to like along the lines of Shayed because I play mostly support and tank and stuff like that too. So it is sad to see that, and hopefully the competitive scene will. The MOBAs, the support players get a lot of love too. So I hope Overwatch will be like that too, where it's not just AD love that we see for, or just the carries that we see for just all the teams. Okay, well, why don't
you guys?
Oh, go ahead.
I mean, yeah, I was just gonna say you're absolutely right. As a caster, casted now 6, 7, 8. I don't even remember how many tournaments at this point. And it's really difficult to not sort of just gush about the DPS players at times. I mean, tanks can have incredible moments, supports can have the clutchest ults ever, but the skill is just a lot more apparent when you're watching a Pharah or a Genji. So yeah, that's definitely a legitimate issue.
As someone said in my stream chat today, DPS players make plays, supports just don't mess up. That's what it always seems like. That's what it seems like from a spectator perspective a lot of the time. Yeah. And it's like a common perspective because people will go like, oh, why didn't that support like Lucio ult me during that black hole? You know, stuff like that from Zarya, Graviton Surge, whatever the ability name is called. And it's like, that's sort of like the general perspective of a lot of the time. And it's like, that's not really true, but it's like people expect a higher standard of play out of their supports in terms of ultimate use than anything else. Because it's like you mess up one support as an ultimate, you mess up one ultimate as a support, and basically your entire team just wipes. You're all dead. It's like, well, congrats, you messed up is what people feel like. It's not like you made a play. It's like you messed up. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah. Anything else you've done for the rest of the game, like it could have been the best play ever, and you mess up that one time, and it's just, that's all that matters.
You're the place kicker for the for the team. Basically, you miss that field goal, you just get all the blame put on your shoulders. Okay, why don't we take some questions? We've got a few questions from folks. Those of you that want to get in your last minute questions, you can go ahead and tweet those to theoverview.gg. First question we have is from Francois Paul, who asks, what do you guys think of being able to play 2 or more of the same hero in the same team? And what's interesting, we didn't actually mention too, is that Blizzard added the ability to restrict those things in custom games. You can, they had said in the past that being able to play, duplicate characters was, just a big part of the game, and just, having different compositions. But they added the ability to kind of customize these things, which is kind of cool. But what are your thoughts on at least the question, whether just being able to play 2 of the same heroes duplicates?
I think it's something that definitely shouldn't have gone into the game based off of what we've heard from Blizzard in the past. Was just always that they didn't want to restrict heroes, and that the game, they made it so that it was focused on the heroes and like highlighting them. And so I was actually really surprised when beta came back and I saw all the lobby changes, which actually does look really cool, and there's a lot of really neat features in it. But I think that, restricting heroes in any way is kind of the opposite of what I thought they'd want to do.
Seagull, thoughts on?
I don't know. I get kind of worried every time I hear like hero limits or anything along those lines. Yeah, I come from TF2, right? And so my competitive background, TF2, was like the competitive scene was completely hindered by the fact that we cut ourselves off from the main game by introducing class limits, by banning certain weapons, all these things. So naturally, I'm going to be like heavily, extremely against any sort of hero limit in this game, period. I mean, just from tournament play right now, we've seen it's like, is cheesing really a big deal to the point where it's breaking the game so badly that we need to artificially limit our hero choices? Like, no. Like, do you see like 5 Winston's and Lucio being used every game to the point where it has to be used? No. The only time that ever even became close was in the D.Va patch, and even then, that was breakable. Teams started running double Reaper versus at the very end. It's like, if you don't go double Reaper, then you lose, and that became the standard. Then they nerfed D.Va, and so people didn't have to like learn that across the board. But I mean, it's not an issue right now. And, I think in the future, maybe it could be an issue, maybe not. But at this stage in the game, it's first off, I am completely against putting any sort of community built-in rule like that at a stage in beta when no one can play it. So what if we're making decisions based on limited information and limited skill sets because we're missing a large portion of the talent pool going into release? Because there's going to be a huge portion of talent. And then on top of that, I mean, people, not only have people talk about hero limits, they've also talked about a draft system. And like, oh, why don't we have a hero draft? I'm sitting here going, there's 20 heroes in the pool. How are you going to draft? Yeah. And the worst part is there's 2 supports. Well, technically there's more. But I'll just say there's 2 general healers. Zenyatta's a glass cannon healer, so I kind of was like half third. And Symmetra doesn't even heal. So it's like, what, I pick Lucio, then you lose because you don't have any AoE healing? Like, there's that sort of issue too. I think people are looking at it a little bit too hastily in this case, and people are worrying about it a little too much. Just relax, let it play out, let it go into release. It's not our jobs to worry about balance. That's why I feel like hero limits are a last resort by a community in order to balance a broken game. And
well, even from a casual perspective too, it's like I don't think there's anything more fun than getting into a game with your friends and just playing 6 Torbjorns. Like
I did that.
I don't think it gets any more fun than that in this game right now. It's hilarious. Or 6 Bastions or whatever you want to play 6 of. It's hilarious.
Very true. Fishstix, thoughts?
I agree with Seagull's sentiment of don't worry about it, like don't freak out. Even when Diva was like really, really strong, I still then didn't really see a problem with switching to 2 or 3 Divas at the end of a map. And of course, Diva got nerfed. So it's even less of an issue now. So we haven't yet seen people using more than 2 of one hero anyway. At least to not good effect. Like people have tried the 6 Winston strategy or 5 Winston, 1 Lucio or whatever, and it never actually worked. Like the game is actually balanced enough that you're not really running into issues. There's no one character that's so OP that picking 5 of them is actually a good strategy. It's just not the case. If it was the case, then yeah, I would be open to exploring it.
Yeah,
I think it's like from my perspective, I will disagree just slightly that I like the fact that Blizzard has given us these tools so we can define how the competitive scene and how the game plays competitively, like way down the road. But yeah, don't jump to any snap decisions. We don't want to set any bad precedents now. And don't fix what ain't broke. Like the game is fun. There's not an issue with people choosing 3 or 4 of one hero. If there was, I would be open to limiting it. But until that's an issue, I think it's fine.
Yeah, to your point, Fishstix, I like the fact that they've allowed for it. I mean, just at least allowed the tools to do it, so that if somebody wants to do a one-off tournament where somebody does it just for fun, then it's cool. But yeah, definitely don't change the default, like just what the game is, the proper game is, right? Just because there's so many combinations that we can have, and if it ever does get broken, then maybe it's the responsibility of them making maps where it's not broken, right? And just designing from that standpoint too. So.
I feel like it's a little bit concerning though, just with how there isn't a ton of like competitiveness to the game, like competitive gameplay aspect yet. Like someone could actually just come in, like say ESL comes in and they're like, yeah, we want a draft system for our tournament and hero limits. And it's like, okay, well, ESL is the only thing going on right now. And then that kind of becomes a set precedent for every tournament afterwards. What happens at that point, right? Like just because these options were in the game and someone decided like, oh yeah, this is what we're going to do.
True, but Blizzard can influence that. They can tell them not to do it.
Yeah.
They literally. So it's
on that note. Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to pop this open. Because it was very, very hyper relevant. Just posted a note in chat.
Okay.
There's an interview with Jeff Kaplan done on Red Bull Esports where he kind of touches on this stuff. And there's some quotes from this interview which specifically stood out to me. And I don't know if I can find them right now while we're on the show. But the general idea is like Blizzard has watched the tournaments that have gone on so far. Blizzard really wants to support the esports scene. And Blizzard will be helping to work with the community to like define how competitive Overwatch should be played. Jeff Kaplan basically he says almost all of that overtly in this interview. So it's pretty interesting and pretty cool to read if you're an esports fan.
Yeah. So they won't let somebody define a meta for them, or at least a design for them, that's definitely good. Okay, next question we have. Okay, there's one about. Hold on, let me find it. There was one about... Oh, here we go. Yeah, LTGG. How worried are you about cheating post-release, considering how poorly companies like Valve have handled that issue? Was cheating a big issue in TF2? Like, I don't know if it was or not, but...
Well, TF2 doesn't have ranked matchmaking. Well, yet. It's an alpha right now. But it's a completely different type of game. I wouldn't really compare it. I guess the closest game would be Counter-Strike, but even that, I mean... It's hard to compare Valve games in particular to this game because this game has a $40 price tag, right? CSGO is like $20 at the most, a lot less. And that's the largest barrier to entry for cheaters is just a price tag. And on top of that, I have no idea how effective VAC is in comparison to Blizzard's anti-cheat or whatever. But that's my own personal thoughts. I think just the $40 price tag will keep a lot of the cheaters out of the game, period.
I actually have a question which I'm kind of embarrassed to ask. I never even really thought about it. What engine is this game in? I mean, I actually don't even know.
I'm pretty sure
It's a unique vision.
I think StarCraft and HOTS were done on the same engine, and then
Okay.
Overwatch was all on its own.
This is a
think
brand new
Overwatch-
engine. Yeah. This
Yeah.
isn't,
So it's a brand new engine. I mean, that bodes well typically. I mean, Blizzard, they're smart over there. They're smart people, and they have good engineers. So I have faith. And it's the fact that it's their own engine and it's not Unreal, whatever, or id Tech. You know, that also bodes well. I would hope.
Yeah. Let's see. Next question I have is from Christian Nilsson. So Seagull, talk about UI faults, like when you're defending and the enemy is capping, you can't see the point at all.
Ooh, I know what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, you guys know that when you look at a point, it has, for example, it has like control point, I don't know, A or whatever, and it has a circle around it. And then basically that is not transparent when you're looking at it. So there's the very obvious angles in maps like such as Volskaya, where your defense running back to the point while someone's on it, you actually just straight cannot see people on point because it's blocked by this giant symbol. And I think, in general, the game has a lot of weird UI faults like that. Just for example, just in yesterday's tournament, actually, you guys know the giant kill streak message which pops up. It actually, literally, the giant kill streak message actually bugged mid-tournament for me over my crosshair, and I could no longer see my crosshair. And so I just saw a giant kill streak message, and I had to restart my game. I was just like, well, that's... Yeah, I was like,
That
that's
happened to me the first day.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there like, man, do I really need to see these giant kill streak messages on the screen? Do I really need to see all this, fancy stuff? It's like, I don't know. UI clutter is a really kind of like a pet peeve of mine, I guess, because I come from a game where I could customize UI pretty much entirely, right?
Yeah.
So seeing giant kill streak messages on the screen and even having a bug where it gets placed on my crosshair is obnoxious.
I think the biggest thing that bothers me about like the UI clutter or the screen clutter is just like when the game initially starts and you're coming out of, like, especially as defense, you're coming out of the gate or whatever the door is. Like the thing that pops up is like, prepare your defenses or prepare to attack or whatever it is. It's huge on your screen. And the amount of times that I've walked out of an entrance of my spawn and just gotten like Widow headshot in the face because I couldn't see anything in front of me. Like, I can't even count how many times that's happened to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's see. Last question here. I think we touched on this a little bit, but Necrodeus, what steps do you think someone would need to join the competitive Overwatch scene without a pre-made team? So, like, I guess even some folks right now that want to get into the scene, is there a central place for competitive Overwatch right now? I know there used to be, Discord channels and things like that in the past. Is there something like that for folks that are, pub stompers or potential pub stompers right now?
It's kind of, I'd say it's probably pretty hard if you look at the competitive Overwatch scene right now, it is almost entirely comprised of folks who have been high-level competitors in other FPS games, whether they're from Tribes, Quake, Enemy Territory, TF2, so on and so forth. That's, again, this is the reason this is the thing that gets me most excited about this game, is the fact that it is the combination of all these competitive players from these different scenes. But almost everyone has this background, and everyone, in this little niche competitive FPS community, a lot of people knew each other already, or at very least, they were able to connect with each other early on in the beta via these connections. So honestly, the competitive scene is mostly centered around a private Discord channel right now, which is private for a reason. It's limited and private for a reason. So I think in any FPS game, one of the best ways to get into the competitive scene is to play in pickup games, which is like semi-organized competitive games. But right now, there hasn't a pickup scene hasn't really picked up yet, unfortunately. I totally didn't mean to do that, by the way. That was awful. Right. No, but I'm serious. Like, if you look at these scenes across in most of these games that I've played throughout the years, by far one of the best ways to both get experience, learn how to play properly, meet people, and make a name for yourself is via pickup games. And we haven't really seen that take off yet. I'd imagine, though, once the game does come out, there will be a pickup scene that takes off pretty quickly. I certainly hope so. Otherwise, yeah, a ranking system will definitely help as well.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of in my head. I'm like, well, this would be completely, hopefully the pickup scene is mostly replaced by ranked matchmaking, because
fair enough, you're right.
In smaller games doesn't necessarily work that well, but in a larger game like Overwatch will hopefully be, it really works pretty well for this sort of thing.
Yeah. Maybe a little bit of a combination of the chat channel, like maybe does there need to be some chat channels, maybe, you know, instead of having like external to the game, something actually in game that allows for more communication between players, because right now it's just like I feel like friends lists are nothing right at this point. Like you're just, you know, creating pickup games with friends lists or just talking to your friends and playing games, or it's like it's hard to actually meet a stranger unless I just like randomly add them as a friend and building up, yeah, I guess your contact list that way. Maybe it'd be nice if Blizzard just created a chat channel like they do in, say, StarCraft, you know, and things like that, right? There's a whole channel system in StarCraft that I think would be effective in Overwatch too.
You're right. We need a Volskaya general chat.
Yeah.
I just think that something like that happening would just turn into like Twitch chat in game. That's all that I see.
You think so? Oh, I mean, you can make some like a custom one, and you know, you just slowly, you know, it just feels a little bit easier to invite people to that kind of channel versus your friends list. Like that, I don't know. Does the friends list actually have a limit right now? Like, or
yes,
yeah, okay,
and I ran into it.
Oh, okay, I haven't ran into it yet. So.
God, that makes me mad. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, so maybe, you know, it's nice to not have that kind of limitation in terms of the chat channel. All right, guys.
I would say Discord is good. Even if you're not in the private one, there are several competitive Overwatch Discord channels that are open. Mm-hmm. I think if you just maybe is it associated with the competitive Overwatch subreddit? I don't remember. But Gosu Gamers has one. If you go to gosugamers.com, check out the Overwatch section. There's a big link there. The Reddit Overwatch Discord channel has a room for competitive play. Those would be good places to get started as well.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing to like any new player looking to get into competitive is just solo queue a bunch, see a good player, add them to friends. If they accept, try and put them in a party. Mm-hmm. Cool. And just play with each other as much as you can, because right now, you know, it's brand new in beta. We don't really have the tools or anything like in-game support to show yourself off in terms of skill. So basically the next best thing is just make a lot of friends as much as you can.
Yeah, definitely good advice. All right, guys. Well, I think that's going to be it for the show today. Great episode. You know, awesome having you on, Seagull, as our first guest with the new cast here. Do you want to do some shout-outs before we take off here?
Shout out to my team. Happy they're all playing Overwatch right now. It's really good to have the band back together.
Yeah. Actually, awesome, man. Shayed, shout-outs?
Just, I guess, my Twitter and my stream. Having a lot of fun with that lately, so yeah.
Okay. Fishstix?
80 Shayed and Shayed _.
Yep. Fishstix?
I would just say shout out to, holy crap, the elite number of people. I looked at the screen; it was literally 1337 watching right now. Shout out to everybody that's tuning into competitive. It just happened. Shout outs to everybody who's supporting the competitive scene. I really believe in the potential of this game. Our little competitive scene is still quite small. We did see over 6,000 viewers for the Gosu Gamers tournament this weekend, which is a new record for us. Still very small in the grand scheme of things. So everyone that's jumping in and supporting the scene early on in its development, shout outs to you. Keep doing it. Be vocal. Go out on Twitter, go out on Reddit, and support the competitive scene, because we got to build off this foundation. I think we're definitely moving in the right direction. But yeah, shout outs to you guys for watching the show and being interested. Follow ChanManV right here.
Yeah, and
here on Twitch.tv.
That's right. We're gonna be doing this every week, guys. I don't know if a lot of you guys that were watching pre-beta, but it's gonna be a weekly show. So me, Fishstix, and Shayed will be doing this with various guests each week. But again, you know, thanks for Seagull, of course, for coming on for the first time, and love to have you again, buddy. So anytime your busy schedule is open, you know, like definitely let us know. You can follow, be sure to follow the channel, guys. I have other shows I'm gonna be doing this week. Value Town, if you guys like, Hearthstone is going to be on Wednesday. Unfiltered might be tomorrow. Everybody's been asking about Unfiltered, so it might be tomorrow. I'll have to let you guys know later tonight. And you can follow us all on Twitter here. Our Twitter tags are all are all here. And you can follow the show Twitter tag at the Overview GG, which I'll be posting news every week there too. You can find the VODs on youtube.com/ChanManV. So check that out. I'll have those up in about probably 20 minutes, 30 minutes. So you'll find them there if you missed any of the show. But that's going to be it. I think Seagull and Shayed, you guys are going to be streaming right after, right? So definitely check those guys out, of course, right after the show. But it's going to be it for the overview. So for Seagull, Shayed, Fishstix, and myself, ChanManV, we'll see you next week. Peace.
Bye, guys.
Peace.